Hey friends, welcome to Scott Fox After 9. It is a Friday listener DMs episode, and to read the DMs today, I'm going to introduce you to someone special in just a few minutes. I got to do a couple of mentions here before I get things started. I'm well aware that this coming weekend is the lead up to a very special occasion that's happening on Monday. 420 is coming up on Monday, and if you would like to be well stocked and well advised on what your options are, I highly recommend you go and see my friends at Spirit Leaf. It is in the Sunrise Center in Kitchener. The team over there is great. I go there regularly. They know me well. I think I have a parking space there now. Spirit Leaf in the Sunrise Center, Kitchener. Great spot to go, and they've got everything you're looking for. From the pre-rolls to the edibles to the paraphernalia, the drinks, they've got it. Spirit Leaf is great. I also want to mention a listener that told me she was opening up a business in Cambridge. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. It's called Bloom and Beam Laser Solutions. I've been going there. Anya's fantastic. She does a great job, and it's a beautiful facility overlooking the Grand River in Galt. That's Cambridge area, for those who aren't familiar with Waterloo region. And she's doing a tattoo removal on me. I know there's a lot of people who love their tats, but every now and again, you get one that you want to get rid of, and they can definitely do that. Bloom and Beam Laser Solutions. So that's bloomandbeamls.com, or you can look for them on Instagram. They do a really good job. I've had a couple of treatments, and this tattoo is going away very, very quickly, and you can have that kind of success too. So shout out to Anya and everybody over there. All right, so I got some housekeeping out of the way here, and now I'm ready to get into the listener DMs for this week. And what I'm going to do is bring in someone special. Typically, you might hear Anna, or you might hear Tracy Lynn, or someone like that on the listener DMs episode. But today, I want to introduce someone who is brand new in the broadcasting business. She is a student at Connestoga College in Kitchener, and she's doing an internship at the radio station that I work at, Light 92. Her name is Sadie. How you doing, Sadie?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I had you on the radio show earlier this week, and I got to tell you, when I mentioned that you were a broadcasting student, a woman who wants to get into the industry, the texts blew up. People are really cheering for you because you have a really nice energy about you. I love it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
How is radio school? How are things at Conestoga?
Everything is great. Graduate this June, so unfortunately it is coming to an end, but that just means new doors are opening. So.
New doors will open for you. I know it. So you've got my listener DMs there. I haven't read all of these, but I did use a little AI to create a succinct summary of some of the messages that came in. Some of them were really long, by the way. So I've shortened them up, and we're going to get right to the point. And Sadie, anytime you want to join the conversation, you can feel free. As much or as little talk as you want. Sound good?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, the first one comes in from Rich. Rich says, met my fiance on Facebook dating. Turns out we live 5 minutes apart and we were both single parents. At the time, I was going through dental issues and felt really insecure, but she never judged me and supported me through surgeries and getting new teeth. We got engaged last Valentine's Day. Just wanted to encourage Anna. There are really genuine people out there who just want to be loved and be accepted.
I love that message. You said that was from Rich, right?
That was from Rich. That was adorable.
You know, every now and again, it can be real easy to get frustrated with the options on the online dating world.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are you there?
Oh, I'm there. I'm there currently.
All right. Well, Anna has not had a whole bunch of luck, and it's nice to hear a story like that to remind you and keep things in perspective that things do get better, and there is the right person out there. The timing isn't always right, but there are good people out there. That's a great way to start off.
I agree. All right. The next one comes in from Yankee. Yankee says, I don't get gas prices. Winter blend makes it go up. Now summer blend will too. Shouldn't it get cheaper when they switch back?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, the gas prices are a thing that have got so many people frustrated because we have so much oil here in Canada. A lot of people are wondering, why are we paying more than the Americans when they're refining our oil? And this switch from the summer blend to the winter blend, I don't understand why it gets more expensive in the winter and then more expensive again in the spring, but he's absolutely right. If one goes up, the other should go down. Yep. And I don't recall it going down in the winter. Do you?
No, I recall it going up, actually.
Yeah. What's going on here? Friends, we've got to figure this out. I mean, we can disagree on a lot of things politically, but we should be able to agree. In a country with the fourth biggest oil reserves in the world, that we could have more affordable gas prices. Is that reasonable?
I would say so. I mean, I would like to be able to fill up my car for less than $100. I think I've paid.
Right? It is insane how much it costs. I'm like $25 a tank more than I used to be.
That's crazy.
It's nuts.
No.
Okay, what else we got?
All right, coming in from Brian. Brian says, really enjoyed your Pierre interview. Long form works, it becomes a real conversation, and it's hard to fake over a few hours. Getting closer comments too.
Oh, that's talking about the Pierre Poilievre interview. I played some highlights from that in an earlier episode. I don't know if it was this week or last week, but, I like those long form interviews too.
I agree.
You've probably noticed, did you have to take any journalism as part of your radio program at Connestoga?
I took news, so that was kind of the closest that I got to journalism. So, taking a little bit... Peeling back the curtain is what I'll say on that.
Got it. Well, when it comes to news and journalism, it used to be that political leaders, they would do interviews. Now, all they do is media scrums. And part of the reason they do that is because they don't want to answer in-depth questions. And they certainly don't like a lot of follow-ups. When they do a scrum, each reporter gets one question. Yeah. And if they're lucky, one follow-up.
Yeah, it's quick.
You can't really dive deep into the issues or get a sense of what someone really intends by their statements. When someone like Pierre Poilievre bucks the current trend and sits down and does long form interviews with good, reputable interviewers, I think that's great to learn a little bit more about the person. I'd like to see more of them do it, but unfortunately, I don't think they will.
No, I will say, though, I think it's interesting to do those long form interviews. I think it does tell you more about a person when it's, a couple hours.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, I'd like to see more politicians do that. I'll put this out as a challenge if anyone wants to. Hey, I've got a great setup here. And I can do those long form interviews. In fact, I prefer them, especially when I'm talking to somebody who wants my vote. Mm-hmm. So, hey, if you're an aspiring political candidate or a political leader, we'll start there. And you're welcome to come in. I'm talking provincial, federal, or municipal, and we'll work our way down if none of them take me up on that.
Yeah. All right. The next one we got from Roxanne. Roxanne says, I heard Pierre say on Rogan he got into politics because of a wrestling injury. But on another podcast, he said football. Is that that inconsistency surprised me.
Yeah, you know what? And she's actually not the first person to flag that. Pierre did give two different explanations for his injury that he sustained. I don't know what the truth is. Overall, I don't think it's relevant, but maybe there's a credibility issue there.
Yeah,
if he's telling one person one thing and another person another, that's something that he might want to correct and start getting consistent when he sits down to do these interviews. I mean, it doesn't really change his policy or the man he is or anything like that. But if he's going to tell the story about how he got injured, he should at least get the sport straight.
It's very interesting.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, that's a very fair observation.
All right, the next one that I have is from Karen. This is, we had the astronauts in space a few days ago. So
right.
When astronauts return to Earth, do they need to go into a decompression chamber like scuba divers?
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you know the answer to that?
I'm not too sure. Okay, I was trying to get into space. I was into space documentaries for a while. I think they're very interesting. I can't remember anything like that. But from when the Artemis came back down, it looked like they were just in that pod and then brought back up.
Yeah, it didn't seem like they had to do any decompression. No. And I'm not sure if there is compression in space. There must be.
There must, but it's zero gravity.
They're in a pressurized vessel, though.
But I wonder if because in the actual space shuttle, if that's pressurized itself, if that's I don't know.
You got me.
It's a difficult question.
That's a good question. I will defer to those who know more, or I'm sure that AI could probably answer that one fairly succinctly. I don't know is the short answer. So you got me. I have no idea what happens when they get back here on Earth. But a fair question. That's good.
All right. This one comes from Mike, Marty, Amanda, Rob, and Zachary.
Ooh, okay. So this is a whole bunch of people all on the same topic.
Yes. Starting to question if elections even matter. Between floor crossing and lack of accountability, it feels like votes don't count. Should MPs have to trigger by election if they switch parties? And why isn't there more investigation into possible corruption?
Oh boy, that's a loaded one.
It's a big question.
Are you politically active at all, if you don't mind my asking? You don't have to tell me your affiliation, but do you pay attention to politics as a young woman in college?
I definitely try to. Like I say, I had to take news when I was in college, so it was definitely interesting when all the elections were going on to see what was going on in the media. So definitely as I get out of high school and more into college, the real world, I'm trying to be more into the world of politics, but I'm not gonna sit here and be I know a whole lot, if that makes sense.
Got it. When it comes to the floor crossers, these are people who ran as, say, conservative, and then once they got elected said, you know what, I'm going to go and sit with the liberals. That has a lot of perks for the member. Just so you know, they get they have more money for staff. They have more money for all the other things. There's a lot of reasons that you'd probably rather be in government than in opposition, and I understand that. But the suggestion here is that there's some backroom deals that have gone on, and that Mr. Carney is offering up things that could benefit the member personally if they cross the floor. In that case, I think there should be an investigation, if I'm being honest. And I'll tell you why. I'm not allowed to bribe a public official. I'm not allowed to go to my local representative and say, hey, if you do this, I'll give you that. You're not allowed to do that. And it shouldn't be any different for an elected individual bribing another elected individual. But let's be clear. If you offer something in exchange for something else, that definitely stinks of a bribe. Whether or not that actually went on, I don't know, but I think that's part of the reason we need the RCMP to investigate. Now, regarding floor crossing, the floor crossing is not uncommon, just so everyone knows. It's happened many times before. The difference here is that Mark Carney had an election a year ago. The Canadian public said no majority. They gave him a minority government so that the opposition could hold him to account. And if the opposition all teamed up and said what you want to do isn't right, then they could overrule the governing party. Well, the prime minister has a choice. He can come back to the voters and say, I want to do these things, but the opposition won't let me, so I'm asking you to give me a majority government. He doesn't want to do that, and that's weird because all these polls, these fishy polls that are out there, say he would win. But there's a lot of people who don't believe that those polls are actually accurate, that they don't adequately capture all of the public who would vote. So I'm guessing the prime minister also isn't 100% confident that those polls are accurate because he decided not to ask us to give him a majority. Instead, what he decided to do was just use a technicality, a loophole, and lure people over to his side of the house to vote with him so that he's essentially got a majority government. I think that that's wrong when floor crossing changes the makeup of Parliament. And I'm not alone in this. There are some people that I don't typically agree with. I'll point at Andrew Coyne from the Globe and Mail. He's also on the CBC At Issue panel. He seems to agree with me that floor crossing, when it changes the makeup of Parliament, isn't right. That in itself should trigger a new election. If somebody wants to cross the floor, should there be a by-election? Simple answer, yes. I think if you're that confident that you're doing the right thing for your constituents, you should have no problem coming back to them and saying, I want to switch party affiliations. I realize you voted for me when I was a conservative running under the conservative platform, but I've decided I want to be a liberal and work under the liberal platform. That's a material change. That's a big difference. And I think, again, if you're confident that this is the right decision for your community, you should come back and ask for a mandate to work with the new party. And if you don't want to do that, I think that in itself is kind of shady. But that's how I feel about floor crossers.
All right, now we're going on. This is again floor crossing. Sonia says, really happy for Anna, but I'll miss you two together. I was worried you were leaving. Also, these MPs crossing the floor just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. It's kind of dirty. I think that there's a lot of Canadians who are starting to wake up and think, if Carney really wants a majority, why won't he just come back to the voters and ask for it? Why is he doing these backroom dirty deals with politicians? And the one that I think really exposed him, if he had left it at, say, Chris D'Entremont, a Nova Scotia MP, and Matt Genereux, a kind of Alberta MP, although he lives in British Columbia, it's weird. If he had just stuck to that, maybe the Michael Ma thing people could even buy. When he got the Marilyn Gladu crossing, Marilyn is about as far right within the Conservative Party as you get. I mean, she's bordering on PPC territory. For her to cross to the Liberals and then all of a sudden flip a switch and start going with Liberal talking points and supporting the Prime Minister that she was just criticizing a few weeks ago, that's where people are now saying, wait a second, this isn't right. Nobody changes their ideology that quickly. Something fishy is going on here. And that's not just people that are politically active. That's regular run-of-the-mill Canadians are raising an eyebrow saying, this seems dirty. Sonia, you're not alone. A lot of people feel it. I see it in my DMs.
All right, coming in from Kirk, 1 or 2 MPs crossing the floor is opportunism. 4 feels like something bigger is going on behind the scenes, and it's not good for the country.
I don't think it's good for the country either. Hey, one of the biggest tragedies that we're experiencing right now is not just how divided we all are. It's the loss of trust in the institution that we have. And the institution is government. And when people lose faith like they have, that's sad. Referring to a previous question, somebody wanted to know, is it even worth voting anymore? I gotta say this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Voting has never been more important. It's time to send a message. And if there's people out there that sit on the sidelines, maybe they vote, maybe they don't, they care, they don't, they have better things to do on election day. I really think that when something like this serious is going on, that should be the automatic trigger that you need to pay attention and you need to get involved, because clearly something shady is going on here. That means you have to be part of the political process. And we don't ask you to vote every day, but when we do ask you to vote, I really think you should. And you should vote your conscience on what you think is right and which way you think the country should go. We have some very clear paths in front of us. One of them, the government way, the Carney way. He wants the one world order, the one world government led by China. Pierre, he wants Fortress North America. Essentially, he wants to align ourselves again with the Americans to get a great deal while also still doing those trade deals with some of the middle powers like Prime Minister Carney. Anybody that wants to work with us, we should, but we should never lose sight of where our bread is buttered, and our bread is squarely buttered by the Americans. So we got to work out a deal there. There's a lot at stake. I don't think this is the time to get frustrated and throw your hands in the air and say, I give up. Now's the time when you should care.
All right, I've got one from Joanne coming up next.
Okay.
Floor crossing shows a lack of principles. Parties shouldn't expect MPs whose values don't align. It looks like a power grab. Also, these attacks on Pierre feel excessive considering how much support he still has.
Okay, so the floor crossing is shady. There's probably a lot of floor crossing.
There are a lot of floor. I'm reading ahead.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I get it. I certainly feel it, and you're not alone. And by the way, I know the media doesn't spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but they get it too. Some pretty prominent personalities on left-leaning networks like the CBC, even they're calling out the floor crossing, saying floor crossing it's not okay when it changes the makeup of Parliament and keeps a government in power with a majority that they didn't earn from the voters. So we should all be clear about that. It seems like there's a general consensus that the floor crossing thing is shady. What was the other part of that question?
Also, the attacks on Pierre feel excessive considering how much support he still has.
Yeah. The media, they like the Liberals. And part of the reason they like the Liberals is because of the government subsidies. There is a lot of people in the media that are Liberals. They don't admit that. They don't acknowledge that they have a bias when they do their reporting. But make no mistake, they're definitely Liberals. So they see their job right now as not to hold the government to account. It's to discredit Pierre Poilievre. And why do they do that? Because Pierre Poilievre is extremely effective as an opposition leader, and he's putting up a good case for why he should be prime minister. Anybody who sat down and watched his interviews on Diary of a CEO or Joe Rogan, he's a principled man. He believes in what he believes in, and he's passionately patriotic about Canada. He has a plan for our future. The media doesn't like that. Pierre is a threat to the establishment. And the establishment is high spending, lots of money wasted, promises to keep the taxpayers pacified, but you don't actually have to deliver. And we really don't need to argue that because it's true. And any objective person can realize that. Never in history has the media tried so hard to hold the opposition to account as opposed to the government to account. The fact that they're attacking Pierre like they are shows you how much they want him gone. And hey, just ask yourself, if Pierre was really that bad, wouldn't they want him there so that they could run against him? Wouldn't they figure, okay, he is not popular, let him stay in charge and let's trounce him in the next election? No, they've spent years trying to get rid of him. And how do we know Pierre's effective? Well, the consumer carbon tax is gone and Justin Trudeau is gone. Those are things all because of Pierre Poilievre. The media doesn't like that, and they certainly don't like that Pierre is a threat to their incoming subsidies and money. So they're trying to get rid of him. It's dishonest. This doesn't happen in a serious country, but our media is so biased politically that they're going after the opposition leader. They discuss it ad nauseum. You've got so many talking head panels on television talking about how much the Conservatives have got to get rid of Pierre. MPs are going to cross the floor because of Pierre. None of the MPs really have said they crossed because of Pierre. They might not like where their place is in the party they were in, but they got something to flip. So, hey, it is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. There's a reason that so many people have given up on the mainstream media as a source of news. And part of it is their bias that they never acknowledge. They would rather get rid of Pierre Poilievre than hold Mark Carney to account. Okay, Sadie, let's go.
All right, I feel like you kind of just answered this question, but I'll read it anyways. Tyler said if Pierre's leadership was the issue, there'd be a bigger internal revolt. It feels more like media and political narrative than reality.
It is a political narrative, and part of the narrative that they're trying to create here is they're trying to convince conservatives. Pierre's the wrong guy for you. You can't have Pierre. You'll never get elected with Pierre. Bob Fife, a fairly well-respected reporter, but an old boomer who's not really in touch with young people today. Even he was on the CBC the other night going on and on about how Pierre is MAGA and he's taken the party far right. Listen, let's be very, very clear. The Conservative Party is in the center. The center got moved to the left under Justin Trudeau because he took the country so far to the left. So the typical norm is exactly where Pierre Poilievre is. The problem is we're just not used to that, so that it seems like it's on the right. The reality is somebody who wants to lower the cost of living, someone who wants to cut taxes, who wants to use Canada's resources and create a massive boom for the country. There's nothing far right or radical about that. Wanting people who commit crimes to be in jail. That's not far right. That's a normal thing that we can all agree on. Not wanting Canadians to have to line up at food banks. That is not a far right perspective. That's a very normal centrist perspective. But the media is just going hog wild with generalities. And it's all intended to try and force Pierre Poilievre out. And if they can't force him to step down, they want to try and convince members of parliament, conservatives in the caucus, to get rid of him. That's their latest play. There's conservatives circulating letters to try and oust Pierre Poilievre. I don't think that's true. I think generally speaking, the ones who are there are pretty happy. I'm not saying there won't be more floor crossers because clearly there's bribes going around in my estimation. But either way, Pierre's doing just fine. Pierre had an incredible showing in the last election. More votes than conservatives have received in a very long time. The only reason the Conservatives are not in government right now is because Jagmeet Singh sunk the NDP party. In any other election, when it's a three-party race, the Conservatives won. The problem is the NDP fell apart. And the Liberals, in fairness, did get a bit of a boost. They got rid of Trudeau. They got rid of the carbon tax. That was enough for some people to say, okay, I'll stick with the Liberals one more time. And they're running out of runway, though, here, if I'm being honest, because there's a lot of people who gave the Liberals their vote in the last election who are now looking around a year later saying, where's all the stuff you promised? And it seems like we're still wasting money. And it seems like the lines at food banks aren't getting any shorter. And it seems like we're still bringing a lot of people to this country. Nothing has really changed, and people are starting to wise up to that. All right, Sadie, let's go.
All right, Jordan said people were so loud about no kings everywhere, but majority government is still seeking major power and is also quiet. Also, thoughts on Melanie Joly linking liberal wins to shifting demographics.
Interesting. Okay, so the shifting demographics thing. For those who don't know, our former Foreign Affairs Minister, Melanie Joly, she's one of the senior Liberal caucus members and cabinet ministers. Melanie Joly made a comment the other night after the Terrebonne by-election win that they have shifting demographics there. That can only happen through immigration. And there's a lot of people who think the reason that the Liberals tried to bring so many people so quickly to Canada is because they thought they could count on those votes from these immigrants. The shifting demographics, There's a lot of people who believe that that was intentional because it benefits the Liberal Party, not because it benefits Canada. What was the first part of the question?
The first part about it, sorry. People were so loud about no kings everywhere, but now a majority government is seeking major power and it's quiet.
Yeah, the irony there is, remember all those no kings protests? They were protesting Donald Trump because Donald Trump is acting like he has absolute authority and he's using executive orders to get stuff done that should typically go through Congress. And I get it. People went with the whole no kings thing. Okay, well, a lot of the Canadians who also participated in No Kings rallies, number one, we live in a country that has an actual king. And number two, we now have a majority government that the country didn't vote for. So do you really believe in no kings, or is it really you just don't like Donald Trump? And if you don't like Donald Trump, gotcha. I hear you. I don't even blame you. He's done some crazy stuff lately. But let's not talk about Donald Trump because this is Canada. In Canada, no, we don't really have kings per se, but giving yourself a majority when you didn't earn it at the ballot box, that's about as close as you're going to get.
All right, I've got something coming in. We're kind of doing a 180 here, I'm not going to lie.
Love it.
Anon says, on your discussion about open...
Oh, by the way, Anon is anonymous. That's someone who asked if they could remain anonymous.
Okay.
And you know, Sadie, I'll tell you, I get people that message me insider stuff about government, like whistleblowers. I get people that message me like personal stuff. And I've always made the commitment that if you ask me to keep you anonymous, and you got to do it like right at the beginning of the DM.
Oh, yeah.
If you ask me to, I will protect your anonymity.
I love that.
What does this anonymous person want to say?
I'm not going to lie. I think that I would keep anonymous about this too, but I'm interested. On your discussion about open relationships, ethical non-monogamy, is more common than people think. It's
ethical non-monogamy.
Ethical non-monogamy.
Okay,
so open
all
relationships, I think, going back, it's based on trust, consent, and communication. There's a large respectful community, including clubs that feel like normal nightlife unless you choose otherwise. It's not for everyone, but it's not as extreme as people assume.
Okay, I actually know the message you're talking about, and this person was trying to tell me that I would be surprised at how many people are in the open relationship.
There are so many. I am like shocked. I went down a rabbit hole with my friend one day.
Okay.
I'm not going to give out my location, but I live in a small town, and I was shocked with how many open relationships there were when you really dig for it. I was shocked.
If you don't go looking for it, you wouldn't know. Like, I didn't even know about the pineapple thing until semi-recently.
It's gnomes now. I've heard it's gnomes.
If they have gnomes outside.
There's a gnome outside, but I feel like gnomes are so, like, everyone has gnomes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, my mom's got them. I got to go and get rid of those things for her. I'm going to take them right off her porch. Unless she's a swinger. I don't know.
Who knows?
But one of the things I did learn from conversing with this particular listener is there's a number of nightclubs where you can go that are specifically for the ethical non-monogamous couples. Is that how that person put it?
Yes, ethical non-monogamy.
She was telling me about a Club X, I believe it's called, in Mississauga.
Okay.
Where the front of the nightclub, it just seems like a regular nightclub. There's a good DJ who I actually happen to know. There's a good DJ and it feels like a good nightclub vibe. However, in the back, there's an area where you can go and participate in some sexual activity with like-minded individuals. And I had no idea that was going on. There's probably people listening right now saying, what? That's the thing?
I feel like people are either going to be shocked or be like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
There's one or the other.
Exactly. And you know what I don't understand is how you bring that up. I don't know how you go to your partner and say, I love you, but I really want to have sex with someone else. It's a weird thing to do. Do you understand what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm very much to each their own kind of person. As long as y'all are having fun and everything is consensual and everything is safe, fill your boots. Do whatever you want. Do what makes you happy. As far as I'm concerned, probably not something I would participate in because I'm pretty happy myself. But nonetheless, whatever works for you, do it.
Love it. All right. Ashley says, this is another 180. Saw a UN plane circling Sudbury/North Bay on a flight radar after noticing a strange flight path. Any idea what that was about?
I did look into this one. So I got this message just recently. It was Sudbury or North Bay?
Sudbury/North Bay.
Oh, okay. So right in that middle area there.
Yes.
For some reason, and this person noticed it on a flight tracking app. I also have flight tracking apps and I love it. We have some weird planes in the sky over Canada sometimes. And this person noticed there was a United Nations plane that was circling in a weird pattern between Sudbury and North Bay. I looked at it And I, for the life of me, couldn't figure out where it took off from, where it went after it did that, or why there was a UN plane circling over parts of northern Ontario. Weird one. I don't have any answers for you, and I didn't actually even try to get them, because where the hell do you get answers? I can't phone the UN and say, why is your plane over Canada?
Get them on the podcast.
But why does the UN have planes? And what were they up to? Was it surveillance? Were they looking for someone? Was it precious minerals they were scanning for? I really don't know the answer, but pay attention. Sometimes there's some weird planes in the sky, and it's totally okay to wonder what's going on here.
Very interesting. Okay, Ashley also has a follow-up. She says, also, I think I need to tune out politics. I'm starting to feel hopeless and exhausted. I don't understand how people are okay with what's happening.
I get that a lot. There's a lot of people right now that are completely disenfranchised by what's happening in politics. And to be honest with you, I think that's part of the strategy. I don't think the Liberals are all that upset that so many people are upset about the floor crossing, because it's almost a form of voter suppression. People get so frustrated and they start to wonder things like, does my vote even count? That they're less likely to go out and vote. And if you're feeling that way, chances are you weren't going to vote for them anyway. So they would love for you to stay home, because that creates a lane for them to come right up the middle and win. I really hope that people don't give up at the moment. I'm pivoting a little bit on the podcast, because we have a situation where an election is not imminent, and that does allow me to talk about some other things that aren't specifically election related. But as much as I try to do that, and I'm sure that you're going to try and find other things to do in your life as well, I don't think you can give up on it. And I think podcasts like mine are still a great place to check into every day. You know, it doesn't need to be all political, and it won't be all political going forward, but it's a good distraction where you get it delivered in an easy to listen to way. You get the info. It isn't pounded into your head. It's just sort of there for you to take in if you want to, and then you can move on with the rest of your day. I hope that people will stay informed and stay engaged. It's not as intense right now, but don't let what the federal government is doing get you down and make you think your vote doesn't count, because it absolutely does. And like I said earlier, that's part of the reason that voting now is more important than ever before.
All right, coming up next, we got Alex. Alex is saying, what are the plans for the radio show? Are you going solo from now on?
Ah, yes. So we did make some changes to the radio show. I explained them when I had Anna on last week. And basically, it's this. There's a head count. And in radio, which is a business that is in particularly being affected by the current economy, there's not as many people spending money on advertising. And you've likely noticed that you've never once received a bill in the mail from the radio station that you listen to. It's free. And that's one of the great things about radio. Radio survives by selling advertising. And when advertising revenue is down, that directly impacts the business. And it's a tough time for broadcast right now. It really, really is. So our company found a way that using the people we already have, we could redistribute them so that we can still cover off all the shifts that need to be covered, but we don't have to let anybody go. I think that that's innovation on fire. I think that was such a creative thing and very compassionate of our company to not want to let someone go despite the challenges to the broadcast industry right now. So Anna is going to be doing her own show solo. I'm doing the morning show solo. Will that ever change? I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm just glad that everybody has a job for now. I can do a solo show just like I do a solo podcast every day. It's more fun, I think, to do it with a partner, but that's only just in the traditional model, the way it's been done for the last 80 years. It's not to say a solo show can't be fun, and I'm working on ways to do that. So it's a bit of a learning curve. I've done it the same way, morning radio, for over 25 years. I've always had at least one co-host. At one point, I had three. And now it's a little different. I'm trying to find my groove, but thank you for being patient if you do listen to my radio show as well. I'll get there. It'll be a good show. And if nothing else, the music is good. You get the basic information and a little bit of me. So this is the way it is for now. Not saying it's always going to be this way, but just be happy that everybody kept their job. I think that it's probably encouraging for someone like you, Sadie, getting into the business, knowing that it's not all corporate greed.
No.
Sometimes we get some good broadcasters out there that want to invest in people, still facing the realities of the business, but they still want good talent and they don't want to let people go. I think that's admirable.
Yeah, makes me feel better about coming into this industry, definitely. All right, Jeff comes in with, Been in the trades for over 20 years now. Great money and benefits, but it's still looked down on. If we want more people in the trades, we need that stigma to change.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Jeff. Listen, I want to be really, really clear about this because I have said a couple of different things on the trades issue recently, namely to do with the OSAP cuts that Doug Ford put in place. I want to make it clear. Being in the trades is a great job. It is a noble profession. And by the way, when I say the trades, it's very open-ended because there are so many things within the trades that you can do. Literally from plumber and electrician to chef. Like a lot of them fall under the banner of trades. It's a noble profession. It usually has a lot of job security. Generally, it pays pretty well. And there's a lot of programs right now where the government is incentivizing getting people into the trades by offsetting the cost of getting into the trades, shortening the apprenticeships that you have to do and what have you. And that's because Canada knows we need more people in the trades. But we don't force people into the trades because as much as I am emphatic that a job in the trades is a noble profession with lots of job security and good money, it's not for everybody.
No.
It's not. And there's some people who just aren't built that way. They're not built for the manual labor or the demands or the hours or the travel or what have you. It's just not in them. And they would rather do or be better suited for maybe an office type setting or something like that. Mm-hmm. My issue with cutting the tuition the way Doug Ford did is, and with giving no notice, is that it's very obvious to me what he's doing. If you have money, if you come from money, you can go to university and get that white collar job because you can afford it. If you don't have money, you're going into the trades, whether you want to or not. That's the message that he's sending. And it could have been avoided if Doug would have just said, hey, listen, we need to make some cuts because we're spending way too much money on this. So we're going to cut OSAP, but we got to do this fairly. So we're not going to implement these changes until, say, 2030. Mm-hmm. If you're in high school now, you're still going to be eligible for the way it had always been and the way it's been for the last 8 years under Doug Ford. For him to now come out and say the whole thing is costing us money and there's people ripping off the taxpayers and we got to end it. It was one extreme to the other. Rather than just fix OSAP, he took a hatchet to it, and that is directly impacting a lot of kids. I've got a 17-year-old at home, and it is amazing how many of his friends' parents are talking about this. How many of his friends that come over to my place, I drive these kids home, I drive them to the golf simulator. Like, it's a good little group of kids. It's amazing how many of them are affected by this change. And it just seems like Doug Ford, the guy that's supposedly for the people, does not care that he is screwing over a lot of people that had saved and they were ready. They knew the rules going in. They knew how much the grants were and how much the loans would be. And then he pulled the rug out from underneath them. And it was so unfair and wrong what he did. And these kids feel it. Mm-hmm. Now they feel like they've been sentenced to a career in the trades, and maybe they would have otherwise chosen one. I don't know. But this feels very, very unfair to me anyway.
I'm grateful that I got out right before.
Yeah, you're graduating, right?
I got out right before.
You got in with the good rates.
Yeah, but it was interesting to see. I mean, a ton of my friends, I won't name names, but a lot of us use OSAP. Like, that funding was so helpful when you were coming into that. So it's, you know, I feel for everyone who is getting hit by those costs right now.
Yeah, and to do it with no notice, that's the one that bugs me. I know that there are parents out there who open up an RESP or a savings account the day their kid is born and start saving for post-secondary because it's so important to them that they have that post-secondary option should they choose to go. Mm-hmm. So they've planned and saved for 17, 18 years, and then Doug Ford just walks in and rips the rug out from underneath them and says, by the way, tuition's going up and you can't even get as much in grants.
Yeah.
He had to give people notice and he didn't do it. And I'm so disappointed in that guy. But it's not too late to change, Doug. It's not too late to change. You come out here in the next week or so and say, hey, listen, we're still going ahead with the OSAP cuts, but we're going to delay the implementation to make it fair. Then I can totally get behind that. That would be a reasonable position. Mm-hmm. The way they did this, though, is just wrong.
I agree. All right, Diane, we're going back in with OSAP. Diane says, everything feels so heavy right now, trying to stay positive, but the rising costs are hitting hard. My daughter's tuition just jumped $3,000 and OSAP changes aren't helping.
No, they're not. Hey, the university file has been really mismanaged, and there was a lot of assumptions made when they were bringing in all that money from the foreign students, we basically used those kids as a cash cow. It was wrong. And now that they've cut down on the supply of foreign students coming in, now the regular domestic students are being asked to pay more with no notice. And it's tough. It's tough on so many families. That's yet another reason that Doug should have delayed the implementation of those OSAP cuts. If he wants to cut it, fine. He's allowed to do that. And it's not even a bad idea. I just think he should have delayed it and spent that delayed time, like the next 4 years, figuring out how to reform OSAP. There is some abuse. There is people getting OSAP and possibly some of it even being grants that aren't necessarily for the right reason. If you live in, I don't know, Burlington, and you get OSAP money to get your own place while you're attending McMaster, I mean, it's 15 minutes away. What do you need your own place for? And if you want your own place, fine, but that should not come from the taxpayers. That's a common sense reform that we could totally make that would save money.
Yep.
But that's not what he's doing. He took a hatchet to it and he screwed a lot of families.
Yep. All right. Sharon says, if attendance is now a part of grading, how does it work for student athletes who miss class for sports?
Ooh,
that's a difficult one.
That's a really good question. Yeah, for those who haven't heard, Ontario is making some changes. I think that they're overdue. The attendance in Ontario high schools is so bad that they've got to go back and now make it part of your grade. Just showing up can get you up to 15% of your final grade. When I was in school, how does it work in college? Before I tell you about when I was in school, because that was a long time ago, do you get more or less marks based on your attendance in the program?
It kind of depends. So for some of my classes, we have a professionalism mark. So that just means how much you're showing up to class. Are you completing your work on time? Like just how professional you are in class. But then also being in an industry where you need to be there in person a lot. A lot of the times, if your attendance is lacking, you're going to lose marks. We had to be on air. We had to do, podcasts and things like that for school. So if you didn't show up to those, that would obviously dock your marks as well.
Got it. I mean, I think that what we're trying to teach here, or we should be trying to teach, is that when you get into the workforce, attendance is expected. And if you want to keep getting that paycheck. Not negotiable. Yeah. And there's no get your mom to call in sick. There's no, I was out partying last night. I don't feel like going in today. It was nothing like that. No. When I was in school, you couldn't get better marks for showing up, but you could certainly lose marks for not showing up.
Yes.
And I think that we're at a place right now where if only less than 1 in 3 Ontario high school students is making it to 90% of their classes, we've got a big problem. I think the government had to do it. Now, this question was specifically about sports. Yeah, there's no shortage of scenarios where those student athletes got to leave early. We've got a volleyball game against a rival school this afternoon. We've got a basketball game, football game. I understand that. And I don't think anybody should be penalized because they're doing an extracurricular like sports. I think that should be an exception to this rule. And I think that if you're at the sporting event, that counts as attendance.
If you're in attendance for something school related, I feel like it should count.
And that's a good compromise. Now, having said that, I don't know that common sense necessarily prevails all the time at Queen's Park, or if they'd even thought of that. So, well, there you go, Queen's Park. Figure out a policy, and the one that we just said is probably the right way to go.
All right. Cheryl says, I actually support attendance being part of grades. It teaches accountability. It's just like real life and work.
It is, though. I mean, if I just phoned my boss and said, yeah, I'm not going to come in today. And I might not even come in tomorrow either. I'm not sure about Monday. I just don't feel like it today. I'm in the wrong headspace. We have a certain number of days that we can use and for different reasons. And the boss, if I start abusing those, is going to wonder, well, why the hell am I paying you? Or I can't afford to keep paying you to take all this time off because I've got to pay somebody else to replace you. I think we've got to set the tone for people in school. Attendance is mandatory. You got to show up.
I agree.
And nobody's expecting perfect attendance from every student. Everybody has different challenges. I think we should keep that in mind too. There are people that legitimately have such deep anxiety that they can't get themselves out of the bed in the morning.
Yep.
And you know what? That's a real thing, but that's something that should be being treated by medical professionals and supported by the school and the parents. There should be an understanding there to try and help the kid work through it. General laziness, I don't feel like it, I've got better things to do.
There's a difference,
and we can't condone that. So if we've got to incentivize going to school by giving you a better mark, I guess, but we still got to get to the heart of what the actual issue is here, too.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Jackie says, you mentioned getting involved in politics. How do you actually join a party, and how much time does it take?
Ooh, Jackie, this is one of the easiest things you can do. What you want to do is, first off, decide which party is most aligned with how you feel. You should say to yourself, I care about X, Y, and Z, and here's the different parties, and that's the one that I identify with the most. To join the party, every local riding has parties with websites and things like that for that local riding. For example, I live in the riding of North Burlington, West Milton. There is a Conservative Party Association for North Burlington, West Milton. You go to their website, you can sign up to be a member of the party, or you can go to conservative.ca. It's the same for the Liberals, by the way. The New Democrats also have it. It's ndp.ca, liberal.ca. You go to the party's website, you can select your riding there, and you pay your money, and you can join the party. You're a member. It costs like $10 or something like that. It's not expensive to join a party, but here's the advantage. Once you do that, you're in. You're on the list. And you're going to get, depending on the riding, invited to a lot of different things that are happening with like-minded individuals in your community. So, for example, in my community, I'm a member of the local Conservative Association for North Burlington, Milton West. There's so many events that get run. And when you go to these events, you meet some incredible people that you otherwise may not have met. You can form friendships. They do socials. One of the things that we're doing coming up is a pints and politics night. It's just going to be at a local bar. People who are like-minded, feel the same way about the issues as you do, are all going to get together for a couple of beers and talk it out. Sometimes they'll do like a night at the races. They'll do special sit-down dinners with guest speakers, or maybe Pierre Poilievre comes in for one of them, or Mark Carney on the Liberal fundraisers. Joining the party gets you access to those events, and those events are where you're going to meet people that are just like you. They have the same problems as you. They live in the same community as you. They want the same things for our country. It's $10, $5 even, I think, for some of them.
I didn't even realize that was a thing that they offered. I mean, like I say, I'm not like super in touch with the world of politics, but I didn't even know that that was a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, in my case, I'm a conservative and I'm North Burlington, West Milton. If I want to meet other conservatives in my area, I joined the local riding association, and there's volunteer opportunities. You could help out during the election campaigns, but when there's not an election campaign, it's really about networking, fundraising, and supporting good causes in the community. There's a lot of good reasons to do that. Jackie, I highly recommend go to the website for whatever party you support and either find the website for your local riding or go to the national party and select the riding from the drop-down menu, and bam, you're on the list. You're going to get invited to some cool stuff. It really is fun.
Interesting. All right. Scott says, my wife's doctor now charges $26 to renew prescriptions unless you book an appointment. Why is healthcare getting more expensive and complicated?
Well, I have a problem with that, Scott. There should be no user fees in health. We pay enough in taxes. Full stop. There should be no user fees like that. So what is it? You've either got to go in so that the doctor gets paid from OHIP, or you've got to pay the doctor just to get a prescription refilled? I mean, unless the doctor has a requirement that after 3 refills, you've got to come in for a checkup or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I think that's totally preposterous. I think that that's wrong. Mm-hmm. Listen, the entire healthcare system is being held together, it seems, with elastics and toothpicks. The whole thing seems like it's cratering, and that worries the hell out of me because there's people out there that need their healthcare. And it seems like this is becoming a less accessible system, not a more accessible system. Somebody's got to start caring. And unfortunately, none of the provincial governments really wants to talk about healthcare because none of them have anything to brag about or any solutions to fix it. You know, there's some out there saying, fund it better, give them more money. I'm not necessarily on that train either. I think the healthcare system has got lots of money. I just don't think it's being spent appropriately. If we've got doctors that are charging someone $26 to refill a prescription, what the hell are we doing here? Mm-hmm. That's not what we're supposed to get as part of our universal, fully accessible healthcare system. Somebody's got to fix this, and I don't know who it's going to be, but we have actual ministers whose job it is to fix it. So hopefully the right people are listening.
All right. Next up, we got Roth saying conservative versus PPC. Do you think the PPC will ever grow, or are they just splitting the vote?
The PPC is the People's Party of Canada. They are what most people would say right wing. If you look at the political spectrum, on the left, you have got the Green Party and the New Democrats. Center left, you've got the Liberals. Center right, you've got the Conservatives. On the right, you've got the PPC. They're led by Maxime Bernier. Maxime Bernier used to be a conservative. He ran for the conservative leadership. And when he lost, he took his ball and went home and started his own political party. I think that was a mistake. Personally, I think that they should have found a way to work with Maxime, or Maxime should have been a bigger person and said, okay, I lost, I accept it, but I still believe in the principles of the Conservative Party. But he's gone really far right. And there's some people who want to get behind that messaging. They identify with that messaging and they think, yes, we should have mass ICE-style deportations in Canada. That's a tough one that not everybody's going to get behind. That is a very right position. Center right, they are not even all that comfortable with ICE-style deportations. We want people deported that shouldn't be here, but are we really going to create a new military or police force to go out and round these people up and lock them up in detention centers and fly them home without even taking care of their affairs here first? It's very extreme. Maxime Bernier and the PPC, they serve a role just like the Green Party and the NDP does. I wish that more people, though, who identify with that PPC messaging would ask themselves what they're accomplishing by supporting the PPC. Hey, listen, the PPC, if you like their policies, fine. But if you don't like liberal policies, and I suspect that's what it really is, it's not even necessarily that you like the PPC, it's that you dislike the Liberals that much. The PPC has never even won a seat in Parliament. Never. There's no hope. Like, even the Greens and the NDP have won seats. The PPC has never done it. When you vote PPC, you're actually voting Liberal because you're taking a vote away from the Conservatives. There's a compromise, and life is about compromise. If you're a member of the PPC, I think you should seriously consider voting Conservative. You don't have to agree with all of their policies, but you should at least agree that they're not the Liberals and they're far more aligned with what you think than the Liberals ever could be. So, PPC, I'm not saying they don't have a role. I'm just saying that when people vote, they should probably ask themselves, if I vote PPC, is that taking away a vote for the Conservatives that could probably help them beat the Liberals? And the answer is probably yes. The Conservatives didn't lose by that many votes in a lot of ridings across Canada. If some of those PPC votes had gone Conservative, we might have a different makeup of Parliament right now. Unfortunately, people still voted for the PPC. Good on you for voting your conviction. It's just strategically, election-wise, I'm not sure that that's the smartest decision.
All right, next up we got something from Samuel. Samuel says, how soon do you think a home equity tax, could happen under a majority government?
Very soon. Very, very soon. If Carney gets really confident in his new majority, even though it's a razor-thin majority, if he gets really confident, he's going to do some of the far left things that we've been hearing about for years. A home equity tax is one of them. The Liberals under Justin Trudeau, they swore they will never tax your primary residence. Never. Yet they've commissioned study after study after study about how they could do it if they ever wanted to. They know exactly how to do it, and they want to do it, and the government is broke. Carney's going to have to do something, and I don't think he wants to raise the HST. That would be the first step in trying to get more money in to offset the incredible amount of spending and deficit and debt that we're dealing with. They could raise the HST. That'll be wildly unpopular. So what they'll likely do is a home equity tax. You'll pay a tax based on how much they say your home is worth. Very much how you pay local municipal taxes based on your home assessed value. You'll do that federally as well and have to pay them. It's a home equity tax. They're going to tax a lot of different things that have to do with your home, even willing them to kids. It's something that everybody should be paying attention to. It's not an imminent threat right now, but if I'm Mark Carney and I'm looking at the numbers here, we're spending a lot more than we're bringing in. He's got to raise taxes, and a home equity tax would probably be his easiest. The one where he's going to get the least amount of resistance because people don't understand it. It's a hard one for them to wrap their mind around. If you tell somebody the HST is going to go from 13 to 16%, that's just the way it is. They can understand that and they can calculate, well, that 3% is a lot of money on everything I buy over the course of a year. The home equity tax, they don't get it. And that's why the Liberals are almost certainly going to do it. Keep an eye out for that one, friends. It's coming.
All right. Allison said, this has been all over my social media lately. Allison says, the outrage over alcohol at beaches feels overblown. People act like it's pure chaos, but it just seems like some just wanted something to complain about.
Well, that's always the case. There's a lot of pearl-clutching individuals who will be outraged anytime we do something with alcohol. And in fairness, every time the provincial Conservatives in Ontario seem to be going down in the polls, they pull out an alcohol announcement, and that seems to press reset, and people forget all about what they were angry about. I'm not sure if it's going to work in this case, but I'm also not sure that the opposition is justified. Really, what the province is doing is common sense. Hey, if you're going to a provincial campground and you're going to set up your tent, you're going to live there for a couple of days or even a week or two, why can't you have a beer if you're doing it responsibly? What's the difference? What does it matter? People are doing it anyway. They're sneaking them in solo cups and Yetis. Why should this be something that's demonized? If you're there and you're not going anywhere, you're just enjoying the wilderness, God forbid you have a cooler or a glass of wine or a beer. What's the problem with that? I don't think there is a problem, but like anything else, we've got to encourage people to do it responsibly, and public intoxication rules should apply anywhere. If you get drunk and you're acting like an a-hole, okay, then you should be dealt with appropriately by the authorities. But if you're not bothering anybody and you're not going anywhere, you're not driving, you're not in any danger, what do you care where somebody wants to have a drink? I think that that's a common sense thing that we should have done a long time ago. So I give credit to the Ford government for that. I think that's a good common sense change. All
right. Chris says Bieber at Coachella was incredible. Definitely want to see him live.
Oh, my God. I'm a believer.
I'm a believer. My first concert was Justin Bieber's Belieber Tour.
Really?
I fell asleep halfway through, but I did wake up. It was a great show.
Justin's great. He deserves all the success he gets. I have, it's funny, he is from Stratford. And if you watch the True Hollywood Story of Justin Bieber, they show his bedroom in Stratford when he was growing up. And he's got a poster of Z1035.
Does he?
On the wall in his bedroom. And he used to listen to myself, Melanie, and Dave way back in the day on Z1035. He would listen to us as a Toronto station. He would listen in Stratford. It was incredible. So he kind of grew up listening to me, and now I'm really enjoying listening to him. I think the music he's putting out now, like from Daisies to Yukon, like this is a good album. And I think it's brilliant what he's doing at Coachella. He sold off his music catalog, and people criticized him because he was playing his songs off of YouTube and singing over top of them at Coachella. Well, he sold the library, and he doesn't want to have to pay people to sing his own music. So the way he's doing it is actually brilliant.
It's brilliant, and I feel like it added a nostalgia element. You could see the music. Like, I grew up with the Beauty and the Beat music video.
Yeah.
Like, they're filming. Nicki Minaj is there. Like, I remember that so vividly. I felt so nostalgic watching it.
Justin Bieber is a true talent. The guy can sing, and he is... he went through some tough times. Absolutely, he did. There were some scandals. There was some controversy, but good on him for persevering and powering through it. He's in a good spot right now, and I'm happy for him.
I agree. All right, we have one last question from Anonymous. Looking for affordable romantic ideas in Waterloo region. Money's tight with young kids, but I want to do something meaningful for my partner.
That's a tough one. It's expensive to go out these days. It really is. I mean, the traditional model for a date is what? Dinner and a movie? Go to a show? Something like that. I think one of the things that in my household, we're certainly watching every dollar, like everybody is.
Yes.
Things are expensive right now. But one of the things that my girlfriend Diana and I agreed on is we're not going to sacrifice date night. We're still going to put the time and effort into each other. It just might look a little different. Whereas we might have used to go out for a nice bottle of red wine and steaks. Maybe now we're picking up a burger and going to Dairy Queen for a soft serve, but it's the quality time together. So while everything is getting more expensive, I totally understand that. An affordable night out can mean a lot of things. And I think that the goal should be effort. And effort is free. And there are so many people who will appreciate and recognize someone who put in the effort, not necessarily someone who spent the money.
Yeah.
And when you can end up with a partner who is just as content with, you know what, you planned a great night out and it didn't cost us a thing, and I love it. When you can get to that place with your partner, you have found the one. Hang on to them. We're all going through it. And you know what? We can't all afford the same things, but the effort is what matters. And maybe your effort on a budget is a walk by the Grand River. Waterloo region, he said, right? Okay. Maybe it's a walk by the Grand River. Maybe it's a tour of different haunted houses in the area. And for some reason, that area does seem to have a lot of haunted houses. It's weird. Yeah. Maybe you guys decide, you know what? We're going to do a joint cooking class. We're going to do this or that. We're going to go and visit a friend that we haven't seen in a while. It doesn't matter as long as A, you're together, and B, you put in the effort. Don't get out there with no money in your pocket and say, so what do you want to do? Plan it. Plan it and show you put in the effort, and that is worth more than money, my friend.
I agree. I could not have said it better myself.
Love it. Hey, thank you so much, Sadie, for coming in. I wish you nothing but success in your broadcast career. You sounded great here today, and I hope that, what do you got, another month left in college?
Yep.
Okay, and then you're into the workforce?
Into the workforce, so maybe you'll see me around.
I hope I do. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Friends, I'll catch you right back here on Monday for the 420 special on Scott Fox After 9. I'll leave you now with the sounds of Pat James and The Whole Truth. Hey now. Oh, yeah.